season 2023, it's finishing abruptly is probably the wrong way to word it because, we probably had a good idea a few weeks out that we weren't playing finals football. But I think from what we're used to in the last sort of, 6, 7 years, it is a little bit different, but that's just a reflection of where we're at the moment. So yeah, I guess it's disappointing. It's sad. I just finished watching the Carlton GWS game, the last home and away game of this season. And it felt weird just to think that there is no more Richmond footy going forward. So obviously watched today's game as well, Port. And I won't talk about that one too much because that's not what the point of this video is. It was a bit of a look. We played some impressive signs. I thought there were aspects of the game that I thought were really good. Again, our kicking really let us down. We probably could have got a few goals up and pushed Port Adelaide a little bit more than we did. But the result was probably thereabouts and where we probably expected it to be. I thought it could have been a little bit more dominant from Port, so I was actually quite impressed with the way we held up. But I thought there's no point really dwelling on the review for this game. It is what it is. It was a bit of a nothing game, like I said. So what I wanted to talk about was something that has been speculation galore surrounding, and that is who is going to be our next head coach. And the question, look, it's a hard one to answer. It's really hard. I don't obviously have an answer, nor does the club yet. But I do trust that they will go through the right process. And for those, and here's my one true real opinion on the coaching matter. There's not many people out there, and you watching might be one person that doesn't fall into the category I'm about to mention, but most of the people out there, including myself, we've got no idea. Now, I've heard people going, oh, we don't want Mini, he's not good, or if we get Chris Newman, I'll be filthy. It's like, why? Like, how much do you honestly know about assistant coaches that have been at other clubs? Look, and some people will know. I'm not saying everybody, but some people will know. But let's be blatantly honest. We really don't know that much. We can hear things and we can hear whispers and, he was at such and such club for this many years and was in the midfield, but where did their midfield go? And I guess you can look at things like that and that, you take that into consideration, definitely. But what we don't see is the behind-the-scenes stuff, the relationship building and things like that you trust the footy club to take into their considerations when doing the process. I have faith that the club will do the right thing and pick the right coach. All I'm saying is, let's not jump the gun on who we think should or shouldn't make it. I mean, everyone's been hanging a lot on Mini recently, especially after a couple of bad losses, Brisbane and the Dogs being the two main ones there. And look, if you ask me, I'm not saying that I definitely think he should have the job, but I just think you can't really take his interim coaching aspect too much into consideration. Firstly, he came in halfway through the year. He's not going to rejig the whole game plan in round 11 and try and implement it. He's going to just continue what was going and just try and facilitate that as best as possible. He does have a good rapport with the players, which we know he loves, so that's always a good thing. But then you've always got the risk of the fact that players tend to have really good relationships with assistant coaches because they're really not the ones at the end of the day doing the cutthroat job of cutting you, giving you the hard messaging, all that sort of stuff. So maybe when he transitions to head coach, that could change things, and maybe that does shake up the dynamic too much, being a head coach at the same club. I really don't know. Those are just a few things. So I want to talk and give some, a few little facts about there's obviously more than a few, but I've got Andrew McWalter, Chris Newman, Xavier Clark, Daniel Jan Siracusa, and Adam Muse, and I've just got a few things I'm mentioning about all of them, just to give us a bit more context surrounding these blokes and how we think they might go for the job. So we'll start with Mini, being the obvious one. He's spent a fair bit of time this year, as we said, as the interim coach. We've won 7, lost 5, so his win-loss record is on the better side. Look, but he's been at the club 10 years, like I said. He did join the Tigers VFL team. In a coaching / playing role back in 2014. So our seniors were playing finals at that stage as well. Obviously just elimination finals and getting eliminated first round, but we were still thereabouts. But he did take on the midfield stoppage position in Richmond's senior side in 2017. So, he was working big with Dusty, Koch. He facilitated Prestia coming into that midfield and really made things work. And as we saw, it paid dividends. So, big plus there. He's worked alongside Craig McRae, who we know what he's doing. Adam Kingsley, he's done a good job this year at the Giants now, all his former assistants. Leper as well. So he's had a lot of good people surrounding him. So he's had a lot to learn off, bounce off, feedback, all that sort of stuff. And as obviously he's been done some good stuff with Mark Williams as well, Choco. So he's had really good people around him, long story short. So I do have faith that Mini can be the right guy going forward. I just don't want us to take what he's done this year as too much as gospel, if that makes sense. Because I don't think it's enough to judge him by completely. I just want him to go through the proper process. If he's not the man, he's not the man. So be it. I'm not phased either way. I just want them to do the proper thing. Chris Newman. Now, if I had to have someone that I'd probably be pushing for, it would maybe be Newey for me. But then again, there's reasons I have for why I wouldn't want him. So the reasons why I might not want him is potentially because of the connection he has with the club. We've seen in the past that when past players come back to coach those clubs, it doesn't necessarily work out. And I don't know what reason that could be. And obviously, Chris Newman played 260-something games, captained the club. So there's obviously a lot of passion, a lot of love there for the Tigers. But will that play against him in the sense that he's too emotional surrounding it? Who knows? I really don't know what's gone through his head and, past coaches that have had the same sort of position. But he has been known as a really good relationship builder. Similar to Damien Hardwick, he's good at building relationships with players, and I feel like our boys do thrive off that. We want a coach that we can bounce off and and feel like they're almost a mate in a way, but also not too close, if that makes sense. Because you don't want to be best mates with your coach. You don't want that, but you just want to have a good relationship, essentially. Box Hill finished 10th in 2016, and he was coaching them at the time, the head coach. But his first season at the helm resulted in a second-place finish and a prelim final berth, where Newman was named VFL Coach of the Year. The following season, Newman coached the side to the VFL Premiership, becoming the first ever side in the VFL to win a flag from outside the top four, which is pretty impressive. And forgive me for reading the stats, but I don't want to get it wrong while I'm trying to tell you guys or relay this information on to you. So that's pretty impressive. He's done well. He's obviously jumped a side that was pretty low, brought him right back to the top. And then 2 years later, won a flag from outside the top four. Pretty impressive. But you could also look at the fact that why they finished outside the top four if they were good enough to win the flag. But that's another argument. We won't get into that. And again, he's also worked under Alistair Clarkson and Sam Mitchell, who, if you ask me, Sam Mitchell is a genius with what he's doing with Hawthorn right now. I think Sam Mitchell is a very, very smart man. And Alistair Clarkson speaks for itself. So that's my thoughts on Chris Newman. I'd be a big fan of him. But again, I don't care too much as long as the club does the right thing. Xavier Clark spent the last 6 seasons at the Tigers. He arrived at the end of 2016, took up a position as the development coach. He then spent a couple of seasons in that role, and he would also lead the club's VFL team before eventually moving into his current position as a forward line coach. And we know the role that he's had as well with a lot of our Indigenous boys, so he has that relationship with them, and as well as all the other players also. So again, has he been at the club too long, and does he have too many emotional attachments with our players to now take that step as senior coach? I'm not sure, but I think his credentials speak for themselves, and you can say that he hasn't had experience leading his own team, but most of these guys haven't. Chris Newman, I know he had the VFL side, that's great, but most of these guys are untried. Let's be honest, the coaches we're going to get are mostly going to be untried. I think we're going to accept that, and we did that with Dimmer, and look how that worked out for us. So anyway, that's Xav Clark, and I really like Xavier Clark as well. I think he's a great bloke from everything I've seen and heard. I've got a lot of respect for him, so he'd be another great one. Daniel John Siracusa, Gia, was the 2020 winner of the AFL-CA Assistant Coach of the Year award while he was at the Dogs, before he joined Essendon ahead of the 2021 season. He's been responsible for the backline in his tenure there, and he currently owns the midfield alongside Blake Caracella, who was also a great Richmond man. And his biggest strength, in his eyes, is his relationship building. So again, there seems to be a bit of a common theme with the people we're looking at and the relationships they can build. So again, Gia, a good one. I don't mind that. And then lastly, Adam Uze, a wealth of coaching experience. He was in various positions at Hawthorn throughout 13, 14, 15, three-peat years, so he knows what it takes to win premierships at a club. He joined the D's in 2020 as a midfield coach, and he's been on the radar for a lot of teams looking for head coaches. I know Carlton were thinking about him. St Kilda probably were as well from memory. Don't quote me. So a lot of people in the industry clearly respect him and what he is doing because he's highly sought after. So again, could be great. And then again, out of all these guys, whoever does take the role, and it might not be any of these people that I've just mentioned, could be someone else altogether. I'm not too sure. But whoever comes in is also going to have two senior coaches at their side, or two past senior coaches in Ben Rutten and David Teague. And I know their records at their own clubs weren't great, and they both did get the sack. But they do have that experience at the top level and can hopefully guide our new coach just into what it's like to be at the front, and you're in front of the media, leading the boys. And from more reports, these guys didn't have bad relationships with their players either. It was just performance-based. So not saying their records were fantastic, but I think the fact that they had that senior coaching role, can hopefully help whoever takes over ease into it. But yeah, those are my thoughts on the coaching gig for next year. Like I said, I don't really have any favourites. I do like Chris Newman. Maybe I've just got a soft spot for him. I do like Minnie, but I love all the other guys as well. I think everyone is going to bring their own little aspect to Richmond, and it's just up to the club to decide what puzzle piece is best going to fit us. So it's as simple as that. I think we've seen it in the past. We've done such a good job from an administration all the way down. I have faith that we will do the right thing, to go through the right processes and pick the right man. I don't see us being one of those teams that gets a new coach, he stays for 2 years, we sack him, new coach. I don't think that's going to happen. Not necessarily saying he'll be 13 years or however long Dimmer was around, because that's an extended tenure. But I think we're going to make the right call, and I have faith in the club. So maybe that's just me. But anyway, thank you again for watching. I'm going to wrap it up there. I will give a season preview coming soon. I'm going to go through that. With finals coming up now, there's not going to be as much content. Obviously, there's no reviews, previews, etc. So I'll do a season review. Check out the Instagram. There will be more content coming there. And if you do want just broad AFL content, please head over to Pressure Point Media. The link will be in the bio for this video. You see it attached all over my socials as well. It's another podcast I run that's just all AFL-centric, not focused on Richmond, the whole thing. So if you do want some finals updates and things like that and just a bit of fun, head over there. But again, thank you very much for watching. It's been a long season, an interesting season. I appreciate everyone sticking with me for the ride. Or we win together, it feels like. And I don't know if you can see from the tee, but proud to be Richmond. I think it's a fitting time to wear this, because we're going to remember that there's going to be a lot of highs, and we've seen 3 of them pretty recently. There's going to be some lows, and we're not doing too badly at the moment. I think the upside is still there. We're just going to look at the positive side of things, and we'll be all right. So until the next video, thank you for watching, and go Tigers.